And we are live. Welcome everybody to Connections Unplugged from LinkedIn to Live. This is my video podcast series, multi-streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube every Wednesday at 11 o'clock Finnish time, powered by OneStream Live. In this podcast series, I get a chance to interview one of my LinkedIn connections every week. And this has been in my mind as a concept for a long time. I was thinking that I have such a great network, more than 6,000 professionals that I've met either in real life or somehow I was drawn into their LinkedIn profile and I reached out to them or they reached out to me. So I thought I would like to get to know my LinkedIn connections on a deeper level. And of course, I was always thinking how to make it newsworthy and share the knowledge for the people in the wider community. So I thought that I make this video podcast where I introduce them to the world. So now you get a chance to eavesdrop to our conversation with today's guest. Let me add her into the studio. Hello, Susanna. Susanna is with me today. Susanna Eskelinen, we haven't met in person yet, but I was drawn into your LinkedIn profile. You have been a very vocal advocate for the internationals living in Finland. And I reached out and I sent you a connection request. You gladly accepted. Allowed me to read a little bit what Susanna is stating in her LinkedIn profile, and then she will open up, tell us a little bit her story, the way she wants it to be told. So her title, her headline reads their social media content marketing and content creation. And that down there in the about part, it says that you've been called an idea generator, a customer whisperer, and a master collaborator. But your personal preference is to be called a lifelong learning, which is something I like to identify as. You come from a linguistic literature background, so obviously words and how the words shape and construct realities is important for you. And somehow you find your way, given that background in linguistics and literature, into social media, content creation, content marketing. So Susanna, nice to have you here in Connections Unplugged. Looking forward to get to know you. So let me start a little bit asking you a question that I love asking people about their background, because I do think their childhood, everyone's childhood shapes them one good way or bad way or one way or another. So tell us a little bit about little Susanna. Where have you been born? Where are you coming from? What kind of girl you have been growing up?
Ooh, I love that question. Thank you so much. So I think, the most important thing that has shaped my experience has been being born into a Finnish family, but having spent most of my life in Germany. So I'm a classical third culture kid, and I have always loved stories and loved reading and loved painting and loved being creative. So I'm really happy that I have found so many ways in my professional and in my private life as well to kind of like follow those curiosities and try to express myself. And I think growing up between two languages has also shaped the way I see the world, which is always through different lenses. So it comes with good things that, I can easily connect with people from different backgrounds, from different cultures, because I understand what it's like to be an immigrant. On the other hand, it also, I bet you can also relate.
Let me ask you, Susanna, are your parents both Finnish people? They just moved to Germany, right?
Yeah.
And how long did you spend in Germany?
So we moved, for the first time, we moved to Germany when I was 2. So I was born in Finland, but consciousness had not really developed yet. And then we moved to Germany, and within Germany, we also moved a bunch. And then we moved back to Finland for 2 years when I was 9. from age 9 to 11, which was very interesting. And then we moved back to Germany again. So it's been a little bit of a vagabond life.
And eventually, when did you came permanently for Finland? Did you come to study at the university, or what brought you to Finland?
No, yeah, that's a great question. I came just 3 years ago back to Finland. So my experience is that of an immigrant, basically, because I had to jump through all of the administrative hoops, like everybody coming into the country, of course, with the massive advantage of having the passport and having the language.
And having the
but
name.
and having the name and the face, obviously. And I think, yeah, it was a very, very interesting experience. And I believe that at some point in my life, it was bound to happen that I will move back to try and find that one missing puzzle piece of my cultural identity, because I've always felt like I'm in between the chairs, that I don't really belong to a place or to, a group of people in that way. And yeah, I think moving to Finland has also really influenced what I do now is trying to advocate for internationals, because I kind of have a seat at both tables.
Right.
And I feel like that's a massive, massive privilege, because like we already stated, I have the name, I have the language skills, I have the face, and I get a seat at the table where other internationals might not. So I feel, yeah.
I'm so happy you saying that, and that's why I reached out to you and I wanted to connect with you, because I was wondering, look at this young women. I think we're the same age. I'm 41, right? So I thought that this Finnish woman gets it. And in one of your posts, I can pull it up here on LinkedIn. I have a couple of examples because I want to pick your brains and go deeper also for the audience watching us. I was wondering, we have an ally. Someone gets it, because foreigners in Finland, I lived personally here 20 years in Finland. So I lived all my adult life. I paid my taxes here. I bought my first house. I have a bicultural son. He's Greek and Finnish and so on. He will go to army to defend this country, right, if need be. And I feel that foreigners in Finland, and I have to say, first of all, Finland has made amazing branding effort to promote itself in the international map as a country that is a great place to study, great place to live, great place to work, right? These are PR efforts that have been constantly been made from Finland, and it managed to attract a lot of amazing, super highly intelligent, hardworking internationals, right? However, these people who have come here, I feel, and that's my personal experience, I don't speak theoretically, I believe that foreigners, we have to prove we're 10 times better to be considered half good or good enough. So you have written about this in your post, and I want to share, perhaps you can help us also go here. I have just one example here. Would you like to read us a little bit, or do you remember this post 2 months ago? You posted about this, that the topic of hiring internationals in Finland is discussed only one-sidedly. Tell us a little bit your insights about that, how you come to realize this, because you're an expat yourself. So tell us a little bit, what are your personal experience as a Finnish expat coming back to your native country, which you've been absent from for many, many years, and then you see the reality. What are, first of all, your personal observations? What have you realized?
Well, like moving here, because I have moved around in Germany, I have lived in the Netherlands, and moving here was probably one of the most difficult moves that I have made. I feel like I was somewhat naive in terms of the job market here. So I thought, you know, I'll find something. I've always found something, so I should be okay. And upon coming here, the first thing I realized is that my university degrees are no good. They're just not being accepted or acknowledged here. So that was the first shock for me in a way, because I've been in the working world for a very long time, and I couldn't even remember at the time when the last time was somebody had even asked about my university papers. So it did feel like that was the first realization of, oh wow, this is different. This is not Europe. I used to laugh because my relatives, when I would visit, they would always refer to Europe when they're talking about, you know, the rest of Europe. And I was always like, what? Finland is part of Europe. What are you even talking about? But this was the first time when I realized, like, okay, yeah, things are quite different here. And we actually, because my partner is Dutch, so we had to go through the whole administrative thing of getting into the country and on family ties. So we accidentally filled out the other form for non-EU folks and realized how much harder they have to fight to be in this country. And I think the feeling of not being welcome in a way, or not being, or anything that happens outside of Finland in terms of your education, in terms of your work experience, it felt to me, I don't want to make any accusations, but it did feel like it doesn't have the same value as Finnish work experience or Finnish university degrees. And this got me thinking, if I feel this way with all of my privilege, how do people feel who do not have those privileges, who might, you know, stand out differently or have a different background? And then I also worked as a job coach for a while, which heavily influenced the way I see things, the way I think about things, because the way that internationals are often like treated by the system, and I'm not saying on an individual level, I'm saying by the system, it's like, here, you need to learn the proper Finnish way to do things, and you need to learn the culture, and you need to learn the language, and you need to, like, super qualified people who have long, successful careers in their home countries are all of a sudden being put in a position and also spoken to in a way that we need to teach you how to write a CV, without acknowledging that, I get it, there are cultural differences, but I think it needs to be acknowledged that it's just a cultural difference, that there is no difference in value in a way, or that it's still worth just the same, it's just different. So I think that is something that I saw from multiple perspectives, that just how hard it is, and how hard it is being made for people. I was actually sitting with a group of internationals just this weekend, and there was this lady, and she was absolutely phenomenal. And she said she went to a company asking for a cleaning job, and they told her straight up, no, you're not going to get a job here. And then she fought so hard and she applied herself so much that they actually gave her a chance, and then they ended up offering her a job. So it was one of those moments for me again where I was like, oh, this hurts my heart so much.
Did she have a PhD, that lady? Because that could be possible as well.
I don't think she had a PhD, but I'm very certain that she was extremely educated. And this is another thing that people, I think, need to realize, like, and this is my whole if you want to boil down everything I write about on LinkedIn, everything I kind of like advocate for is that it is a two-way street. Immigration is a two-way street. So we also need to meet people where they're at, and there also needs to be, if we want to attract people from other countries, we also have to make sure that, you know, they have a setup that they can exist in, that they can work and live in. And there has to be like a little bit of a approach from both sides, and not just that the immigrants have to work double, triple as hard after being basically invited with the world's happiest country.
Exactly.
And yeah.
Susanna, I want you to be the Minister of Labor. I manifest now. Susanna, ladies and gentlemen, let's give this woman a seat in a different table because I think you're nailing it absolutely. And I think, as you said, with your privilege, and you're very aware of that, despite the fact that you've been raised abroad outside Finland, and you came here as an expat in your own home country, now you see the struggles, and of course this can be multiplied to fun fact, when I graduated from Sibelius Academy, I have my degree from the University of Athens in Communication and Media, then a degree from Rovaniemen ammattikorkeakoulu, so the University of Applied Science of Rovaniemi, and then a master's from Sibelius Academy. And I applied to Helsinki to Sanomat to be the postin jakaja, to deliver the post, and they rejected me. I was furious. I said, I'm a journalist. I have a master's degree from Sibelius Academy, and you're telling me I cannot read what it says on the envelope and put it to the right office? I picked up the phone and I said, this is our treasurer. Why you did not even invite me to interview? Why I was not given even that opportunity to just be seen? And then they said, oh, you were so overqualified and so. But I said, I need that job. I need to stay in this country, and I would love to do this job, and I'm committed. But this is the struggles. Tell us a little bit what you do, Susanna, at the moment. Where are you working? And I also wanted to ask you follow up. Tell us about your partner. What does she doing in Finland? Have they found their way in Finland? Are they happy professionally? If you can elaborate on that.
Of course, I'm happy to. So let's maybe start with what I do right now. Currently, I work for the marketing department of a university, and I lead a team of student ambassadors, which my previous experiences and work as a job coach kind of bleeds into that heavily. So the way that it influences what I do now is because I don't want to be part of the problem. So I'm really invested, and I think the entire university is to do honest marketing.
Susanna, now that you are working inside a university in Finland, compared to your previous experience as a student, studying in perhaps German universities, right?
Yes.
So what are the differences for the audience listening to us, watching us at the moment? Because they might have also a good brand image about Germany, right? And maybe an equal good about Finland. So you know both systems to some degree from different perspectives. You said before in the beginning of our conversation that when you came to Finland, your degrees were not recognized or were not as valued. That's a bit surprising. Elaborate a little bit about the German way of learning versus if there is such a Finnish way of learning and doing things.
It's really a little bit like comparing apples and oranges, though. So there are a couple of disclaimers, I think, before I start answering your question. So I'm an old lady, so it's been a while since I've studied, and things have probably changed. Plus, I studied languages and literature. and the only access to student life and how all of that works is currently at a technical university. So it's difficult to really compare one-on-one. I believe that what I'm seeing in the Finnish educational system in general, I think I'd be better to comment on the school because I actually experienced that here. So I think from my perspective and my own experience, again, which is a little older,
You're not
it's
an
been a
old lady, as
while.
you said, but I understand your point. How about
Yes.
yeah, tell us about your current and experiences, or feedback you might hear from the students themselves. Because what I meant with my question is, when I was teaching for 5 years at Haaga-Helia, University of Life Sciences, I had many exchange students, for instance, from Germany. They were all remarkable. They were one of my favorite, if I may say, students, very hardworking, very respectful. You told them one thing, they went out and do two things. And of course, I've been privileged to have students from all walks of life all over the planet, and they were all wonderful. But especially the Germans, I noticed that they have, I heard from them that they were surprised that in Finland, there's a lot of project-based work, semester projects, academic projects, perhaps in their home universities, whether it's in Germany or Vietnam or other parts of the world, Greece, even my own home country. It was more of a theoretical. They had great professors, very esteemed professors. It was a pleasure to listen to, but they didn't have so much this project hands-on work. Perhaps also you are explaining the initiative, even though it's not tied with your students' courses as such, but nonetheless, it's within the university. And it gives some kind of experience to them. They can already say, add it in their CV and say, we learned this and we practiced that, and even we earned a little income. So what do you think about this more hands-on Finnish approach? Because I think, to me also, this is the one core difference, even though I studied in the early 2000s.
Absolutely. I can totally second that. Something that I am seeing that I love seeing is that professors and universities really try to collaborate with companies and give students real life examples, real life business problems to solve. So that's something that I have seen and witnessed myself, which I think is amazing. And also one feedback that I get a lot from speaking with students, something that sometimes takes a little bit getting used to, is a very self-directed learning style. So it is very different from like frontal kind of, the professor is amazing and is put on a pedestal and just talks at the students. This is something that I've heard students say they experience very differently in Finland, that there is a real dialogue and everybody's on first name basis. So the professors feel more approachable to the students than what I'm used to from my time studying. And I remember when I was going to school, actually, this is a very concrete example. I was used to the German school system where the teacher stands in the front and just talks at the class. And in Finland, it was really different because they actually they took us to a company, and they let us watch these, like, the way something is made. It was some production company, and they just kind of stood us there and they were like, look how this thing works. And then we went back to school, and then they gave us little Legos with little motors and stuff, and they were like, okay, now build it.
Mm-hmm.
I was entirely overwhelmed with my background.
What on earth?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think, and from because I also have a good amount of teacher training. from a didactical point of view, that's the way to go. That's the way to do it. So yeah.
We have so many things in common. Pleasure to finally meet you, at least even in this mediated way. I'd love to meet you in person. As you know very well, I love Gerd Hofstadter's analogy of culture being a mental software, the software of the mind. And as you said, you have been in that environment, in that German culture, growing up. So that has already put your mind on some set ways. And of course, being an expat coming back, you look through those lenses of your software mindset, how the society is, and you see even you experience this culture shock, even though you are native Finn. So I asked you before if you want to elaborate a little bit of your partner. You're not representing them either, but if it's okay, tell us a little bit more from the perspective, because you wrote in one of your posts, I don't know if it was this one, where you stated that this is personal to you, not only from your experience.
Yes.
Here you say the topic of immigration is personal. We all have stories and or experience that have shaped our position. So it's only fair I share mine, since I cannot seem to shut up about it. I've worked with internationals throughout my entire career, colleagues, language learners, learner leaders, and so on. So you have, though, also an international at home with you. So I'm just curious how your lives are developed now. The reason I'm asking this, not to be nosy, but I know many couples, a Finn and a foreigner, that they're facing a lot of struggles because, as you said, from your perspective, the Finn usually is employed. Maybe it takes a little time for them, but I hear this a lot for couples from different backgrounds, that the Finn applies to 5 jobs and gets invited to 3 interviews and lands 1 job offer, whereas the foreigner applies every day to tens of jobs. They don't get to go to any interviews after months and months of job searching and applications, and then they end up being unemployed. And that creates, of course, friction to the relationship and so on. It's a vicious circle. I hear those stories a lot, and they don't paint a good picture for Finland, I think. So I want your take on this, if you can touch to the degree that you feel comfortable sharing.
Of course. So we were lucky to that regard because my partner had founded their company and already had clients. He's a motion graphic designer, and he already had basically a business set up that he was able to just move, bureaucratically from the Netherlands to Finland. So to that regard, thankfully, we did not, we kind of had a setup that allows him to just keep working seamlessly. Having said that, we do have a couple in our friend group with that exact kind of setup, if you will. So one person is Finnish and they're working and employed, and the other person is not Finnish. And they actually decided to go back to school to go study because it was just impossible for them to find work. And then it took a really long time and incredible effort for them to find a traineeship position, which they did. But unfortunately, this traineeship position is also limited. So they're basically in the same situation again of having to start the application machinery because it's really crazy. One thing to be mentioned, however, is that the unemployment rate is really high in general right now. So I think that deserves to be mentioned as well, that it's not just the internationals struggling, it's everybody. And I think it's a worldwide phenomenon with the tech bubble bursting, economic crisis everywhere. So it's not good news for anybody, but of course that's an added issue for internationals in Finland, because what was difficult before is now even more difficult. And even with remote work, the competition is so high currently that it's really hard. So yeah.
Yeah. And the unemployment in Finland is 10.1%. It's amongst the three top highest unemployment rates in Europe, with Spain leading. Even Greece, my own country, used to be in the top three, is performing better than Finland at the moment. And the rate of unemployment amongst internationals in Finland, I think it's nearly 19-20%. So it's higher, of course, to in the international community. Susanna, if you would be in a position of power, I said before, I see you in the near future if you want to be involved in politics, as you're a great advocate for the internationals and for common sense. It's not about internationals, right? And Finns and internationals. We let the best people win, right? Like if you have something of value to add, to contribute to the society, everybody should be allowed to be given equal opportunity to do so. And I say this with so much love because I do love Finland. I love Finnish language. This is my home, really my home. I could fight for this country myself. And I feel that the foreigners actually who chose Finland, maybe I say something revolutionary here or shocking to some people, but if you think about it, I want to hear your thoughts on it. I think people like you, okay, you're expat Finn, but still you chose willingly to come to Finland. And I'm a foreigner who chose Finland, right, to set up my family, my career, and so on. I think we love Finland twice as more, even more, because we're not out of luck that we, at least for foreigners, I haven't been born here. So I'm not, I could be born in Africa, in Asia, in any other continent, but I was born in Greece and I was born in Europe out of luck. And the same thing goes for Finns. But if you willingly decide to call a country your home, then it means that you're really, there's something about you. What do you thoughts about this? Because you're a Finn that chose to come back to Finland, even though you've been raised and studied abroad or in other countries.
I love this question because I do agree with you. I think Finland is for lovers. Like in the best way and
a bit crazy. You have
way.
to be a little bit a special kind of person to come back. We're not. We're unique.
Yeah.
We're unique.
And this is the argument that often comes from that you hear from far right people is like, yeah, well then everybody, all of the immigrants are just coming to, use the system. That baffles me every time I hear it, because it's like, do you really think you would uproot your entire family?
Move half a planet away, even.
You would move half a planet away. And it's a financial investment too that people maybe don't understand who have never moved countries, but it's expensive too.
Absolutely.
Do you really think these people would uproot their entire lives for, I don't know what it of course varies how much they will get, but it's like, I don't know, 700,000 euros per month. Like, really?
No,
you really think anybody would do that?
Yeah, and that's exactly because people haven't really been in that process. They come from such a comfort zone and privilege that they haven't had to go through the process of moving. So they're not really aware, not to mention they don't know how much are the benefits we're talking about. It's peanuts if you think how much the cost of living is expensive in Finland, not to mention the very friendly climate. And when it's November, pitch black and 6 months, it depends on where you are exactly in Finland, but you could have 7 months of pitch darkness and snow, and you might not even familiar with this climate condition. Plus, not to mention, you have no support network, you have no family. If you have children, you're doomed. If you have no mother, father, grandparents, aunts to help you with your child if need be, you have no friends, you start from zero. So yeah, I think I'm a little bit confused and baffled with those comments as well. Not, of course, Finland has managed to have a great welfare state and we're very thankful. Of course, it's deteriorating. As we know, the situation is what it is politically, financially, socially. Yeah, Susanna, what would you do differently if you were in a position of power? What would be the things you would change, that you think that they would add some value, where Finland is heading into the future? Is there something that you would like to fix or fix now, so that Finland has a better future ahead?
Yes, I do have one. I have many ideas that I would change, but the one main thing that I would do if I were in a decision-making situation is I would make it easier for internationals to start their own businesses. I would give them the opportunities and make it bureaucratically easier to start your own business, because I feel like, especially with Finnish culture being somewhat risk averse, I feel like this is such a massive opportunity for the country to actually use the cultural differences that people have for the good, because I think that a lot of other cultures are maybe more used to the hustle, are not as risk averse as your typical homogenous. Of course, this is just the average, but if you made it easier for those people to start their own businesses, to create their own work, to create their own workplaces, and maybe also hire other people, I mean, that would just be a win-win situation, I think, for everyone. But what is holding people back currently is just the fact that I think it's really difficult in terms of the bureaucracy. The taxes are not very favorable for entrepreneurs right now. I think it's 25.5% currently, if I'm not mistaken. Please don't quote me on this. But yeah, I think that is something to really like support this this drive that people have that come here. These are folks, like as we discussed earlier on, that uproot their entire lives to be somewhere. You think that they also then have the drive to build their own businesses, to create working places, and to sustain themselves, because that's all the most people here want. They just want to sustain themselves, and they just want to live. So I think that is a massive opportunity. Another thing that I would do, I have a little bit of a background in HR tech as well. So there are some things that irk me so much about like Finnish recruitment. Is first things first, the hidden job market. It needs to be, in my opinion, it needs to just be done.
Susanna. Girl.
It's like, how is that even legal? I don't know, but I think that's one of the main issues, not only for internationals. It's also just in general an equality issue. If people are allowed to hire just people they know, then in German there's a word for it. It's Vetternwirtschaft. Like I think in Finnish it's hyvä veli culture. Like this, just everything happens through connections. I do believe connections and networks are important, community, everything, but yeah. Get rid of the hidden job market.
I could love. You need a show of your own. Let's produce one for you. I think you're absolutely right. You're a powerhouse of ideas. That's fact. I second that. I agree with you. And you know exactly. You hit the nail on the head. You say straightforwardly as things are. Not many people like to do it. They want to be diplomatic and not speak their mind, but you speak your mind in a very respectful way. You tell, this is the facts, these are my observations, and still your knowledge of language, of course, makes your message quite clear and respectful. Susanna, I have a question. I think it's perfect time to ask you for my previous guest, Katrilis, asks you if income is not a question, and you don't have any concern about your survival, what life you would like to lead, what kind of work would you do, or would you work? How do you see your life? So tell us about you. If you had not so necessarily all the money in the world. I think Katri said that, let's say you had a universal income or one standard income coming your way. Would you still do the same things you're doing, or your life would be completely different?
I think all of our lives would be somewhat different if money was not an issue. I love the question. I think I would probably focus very much on creativity. I would love to go study art therapy because I think that's just such a beautiful way to heal and to kind of like deal with things that with emotions. I think I would love to travel more, and by travel I don't mean the tourist travel. I mean truly immerse myself in a place and learn about community, because I think that's something that we white people in particular could learn from, also from indigenous cultures. I think that is something that I would see myself doing, like just learning more about community. I'm still learning too. I'm not perfect. I was socialized in a very individualistic Western mindset,
and European-centric setup, perhaps.
Yeah. And definitely build community around creating, around creativity, because I think it's something that connects us as humans.
Absolutely.
And I would that's like my dream, and maybe someday I will do it regardless.
What hobbies do you have at the moment, Susanna?
I love painting. I paint a lot and I play the piano. I would love to start making music with other people again, because I really, really miss that. I used to be in a band when I was during my study times. And yeah, that's about it for now.
I think, I don't know if you like jazz, but we can have our own little band.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
Stay tuned, everybody. Stay tuned. Susanna, let me hear your question for my next guest. What would you like to ask the next person that is invited here to Connections Unplugged?
I really, really hope that this question hasn't been asked before. Do let me know if it has. I have a backup. But what advice would you share if you had one piece of advice you could? What piece of advice would you share with your younger self, with your 20-year-old self?
We have asked this question before. It was a few episodes ago. Tell us your backup. It's a great question, very insightful. But if you have a backup, let me hear it.
Okay, so what is the one thing? What is basically your mantra for life? Like, what is the one idea, thought, aphorism, sentence, quote that you keep coming back to?
Great. So you heard it from Susanna Eskelinen. She was my guest today. Thank you so much, Susanna. Such a pleasure to have you. Very insightful lady. Follow her on LinkedIn. Is it okay that people reach out to you?
Absolutely, yes.
Great. So thank you, Susanna, for your great insights and for advocating for all the internationals that want to stay and call this country, Finland, home. Keep writing. Oh, one thing I forgot. You have an interesting little project going on, the project Raise Your Voice. Let's close with that. What is this about? And everybody, hashtag project Raise Your Voice, or find also Susanna Eskelinen. Here is her name, Susanna Eskelinen, on LinkedIn. Great lady to follow. And tell us about project Raise Your Voice. What is it all about?
Thank you for asking that question. So Project Raise Your Voice is trying to encourage internationals to share their side of the story, to share, their their insights, because like I said, and will keep saying, immigration is a two-way street. So Project Raise Your Voice is basically currently, in its current form, it's a series of prompts that I share on LinkedIn that I'm hoping people will use as a jumping board to get their own visibility, because let's be real, in today's job market, LinkedIn is kind of important. And every job coach tells you to post on LinkedIn, but the most difficult thing to kind of think about is like, what do I write about? So I'm aiming to help people, at least with that first little push, with a first little encouragement, with the posts, and you can put the hashtag in. You can kind of use the post and repost it with your own thoughts. You can do with it as you please. This is not about me, because I want to hear your stories. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to learn and help others around me also learn about the wonderful, beautiful things about other cultures, because I think people are afraid of what they don't know, mostly. So I'm trying to find a way to somehow connect people. And yeah, I would love for people to use those prompts, and you can also just send them to me in a DM. It's not about using the prompt post or giving me visibility. It's about you getting visibility, and also, yeah, of course, interaction and community building is a little add-on that I'm hoping to happen. It's still very new, it's still very fresh, so we're just starting, but yeah, I would love to hear more people's voices.
Great. Project Raise Your Voice. Find Susanna Eskelinen on LinkedIn. Connect with her. Influential person to great person to follow and connect with. Thank you, Susanna, so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And this was Connections Unplugged, and I will see you next Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in and listening wherever you're watching us from. Bye.